Right, here we are then, the Diocese of Bristol. There it is, just there under that massive arrow. From Swindon in the east, through Wiltshire and Gloucestershire to Bristol in the west. The diocese isn't just a nice area. People live here. 1 million actually, that's loads. Look at them all, every one of those markers is 1,000 people. Let's count them, 1, 2, 3, anyway. So what is the diocese doing about all these people? Well, there are churches. There's one building itself, look. We've got a church in every community. 204 in fact. But it's not about our buildings, although some are pretty lovely. Our churches are full of people. Okay, quite full. Over 30,000 people regularly come to church in the diocese. Check out these big numbers, amazing. And what do all these people have in common? Well, they love God, they care for one another, and they want to make their communities much, much better. In the diocese, we've talked about this as creating communities of wholeness with Christ at the centre. Put simply, this is being the church. So what does the diocese do to support all these churches and all these people? Well, it's the diocese that provides ministers to lead our churches. We've got 200 clergy and 200 lay ministers who we support in a variety of ways. Our clergy come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some are vicars, some are curates who are like trainee vicars, some are chaplains. In schools, universities, hospitals, prisons and businesses, and some do specialist roles as part of the diocese. Some are paid, but many do what they do voluntarily. Most of our clergy and all our lay ministers work as part of local churches. As well as leading the churches, they're there for people throughout the community at key points in their lives, baptising people, marrying them, and comforting families through funerals. This is a pretty cool job, but it's difficult too. Our ministers need to be quite special and be well trained and supported. Oh, and some of them need to be paid and provided with a house to live in too. Unfortunately, we can't use monopoly money or monopoly houses. Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? And it's not just these ministers we've got at the moment. We've always got 50 more clergy and lay ministers in training, ready to come to a church near you. We also provide specialist support for our churches on not that sort of specialist. Oh, a bit of slapstick there, always good. Specialist support for our churches, things like child protection and ministry development officers. And we engage with a bigger picture at a city, county-wide and even national level. By having our ministers and advisors work alongside Christians in each community, we can make a difference right across our area. But that's not all we do. There are church schools. We support 67 schools across the area where 15,000 children and young people are getting an education with Christian values. This is the big picture of what we do as a diocese, but I know what you're thinking, how do we pay for it? Well, altogether, parish churches and the diocese raise more than £17 million. Where does this come from? 10 million comes from church members giving to the mission of the church through their local church. 5 million comes from other fundraising and income raised by local churches, and 2.5 million comes from fundraising and income raised by the diocese itself. So, the majority of our money comes from Christians giving to mission. This is exceedingly good news. Parish churches and the diocese almost never get government funding and only receive relatively small grants from the National Church of England, although they do pay for our bishops and for clergy in Bristol Cathedral. So, how do we spend our money? Well, parish churches give about 10% of their income to other charities to start. That's over £1 million a year. Pretty good, eh? They then spend most of their money, about £8 million, on local church matters, their worship, outreach in the community, youth work, running costs, and maintaining and developing their buildings. Parishes then give or share over £5 million with the rest of the diocese. We call this parish share. Combined with the 2.5 million raised by the diocese separately, this pays for all the work the diocese does, providing ministers and support to churches. So, there it is, the big picture of what we do as a diocese. But remember, our diocese is about people, the people who live here, the people in our churches and schools, and the people who lead our churches. We want to help each other experience and be changed by the love of God, and make that love known in our communities. This is creating communities of wholeness with Christ at the centre. This is being the church.